As Michael Cole once famously said, the streak is over. Giampiero Gasperini's Atalanta are the Europa League champions for 2024, as the Italian side produced an all-timer of a final performance, beat Bayer Leverkusen 3-0, and end the German side's historic 51-match unbeaten run. The side from Bergamo was simply outstanding from back to front, and was spearheaded by an unforgettable hat-trick from Ademola Lookman. Coming into this game, in the 51 matches they had played this season in all competitions, Leverkusen had scored 143 goals, with an average of 2.8 per game. In the final, not only did they not score, they were also restricted to an expected goals number of zero point 0.8, the first time they weren't able to manage more than one in a game this season. Atalanta executed their game plan to perfection, and everything went exactly as they wanted, from the first whistle to the last. What did they do so well? Let's take a look. Both sides lined up in variations of the 3-4-3 formation. So, in a way, it was almost like watching 10 individual battles. Gasperini likes his team to play man for man against every side anyway, and his players were up for it right from the start. Leverkusen, as anticipated, had more of the ball, but found it impossible to play out against Atalanta's aggressive high press. The three forwards pressed the three centre backs. When Granit Xhaka and Ezequiel Palacios dropped deep from midfield to get on the ball, they were closely followed by Ederson and Toyn Koopmeiners respectively. The two wing-backs picked up their men on either side. This, of course, left a lot of space between the lines, where Florian Wirtz comes into his own and is one of the best in the world currently. The Bundesliga Player of the Year, with 18 goals and 20 assists to his name in all competitions before this game, was tailed religiously by Berard City. The Atalanta captain made absolutely sure that Wirtz was not able to receive the ball and turn. The Italians were taking a calculative risk by leaving 2v2 near their box, but both Ishak Hien and Sead Kolasinac were more than up to the task. Look how high up Jim City is here, as he breathes down Wirtz's neck. Here again, as the ball is played out to the 21-year-old German, the Albanian defender is touch tight to him, forcing Wirtz to go all the way back. Another big problem for Leverkusen was the lack of attacking threat down their right hand side. Jeremy Frimpong, one of the Schwarzhorn's most potent attacking threats this season, is most comfortable while hugging the touchline and stayed wide, leaving a gaping hole in the half space, which neither Joseph Stanisic nor Amin Adli were getting into. As a result, most of Leverkusen's attacks went to the left. We can see this here as well in the infographic showing the players' average positions. This made it easier for Atalanta and also raised questions over Xabi Alonso's team selection for the game. Both Adley and Frimpong were not playing in their strongest positions, while Victor Boniface and Patrick Schick, two out and out centre forwards with 34 goals between them in all competitions this season, were on the bench. That's not taking any credit away from Atalanta, however, who hustled and harried with staggering intensity and didn't allow Leverkusen to get into any kind of rhythm. With the opposition players breathing down their necks at all times and no spare men to find anywhere on the pitch, the German side started making some uncharacteristic mistakes, playing several loose passes near their own goal. Like this one here, as Palacios' poor ball to Stanisic is cut out by Ruggeri in a sequence of play that led to the corner from which Atalanta scored the opener on 12 minutes. Lookman is the one who took it, but he was quite a distance away from the corner flag just a few seconds later. After the initial delivery is cleared away, two Leverkusen players are caught daydreaming in the build up to the goal. First, Wirtz doesn't go to Zappacosta as the ball is played into the wingback. As the Italian drives into the box and crosses, look how Palacios is completely unaware of Lookman coming in from behind. The Nigerian gets there first and guides a left footed finish into the back of the net. Gianluca Scamacca, hilariously, can't believe it. Atalanta were deservedly ahead, and there had been few teams who had unsettled Leverkusen to this extent this season. Xhaka, who has been pivotal when it comes to forward ball progression for the newly crowned Bundesliga champions, was only receiving the ball with his back to goal, as Ederson stuck to him like a wart plaster. The Brazilian, signed from Salernitana in 2022, had an absolutely phenomenal game, one of his best in an Atalanta shirt till date. In this instance, even if the Swiss international played his trademark first time pass around the corner, every single Leverkusen player on the left is tightly marked. There were signs of desperation as early as the 16th minute, as Hincapie here goes long towards Ardley. Hien, however, has no problems whatsoever in dealing with it. The Swedish defender at 6 foot 3 towered over the Moroccan forward at 5 foot 8. Gasperini would have probably been amazed at how smoothly things were going, but was in absolute dreamland on 26 minutes when Lookman produced a moment of sheer magic to double the lead. Leverkusen goalkeeper Matej Kovac goes long, and while Ardley does get ahead of Hien this time, his header fails to find Wirtz and falls to Lookman instead. The forward has only one thing on his mind as he drives forward, nutmegs Shaka, and curls in an absolute beauty into the far corner from the edge of the box. Skamaka, once again, has his head in his hands in disbelief. Even at 2-0 down, Leverkusen, the masters of the comeback this season, would have felt they only needed a moment to change the tide. In a brief 3 minute period, Atalanta switched off and allowed two big openings, which came, unsurprisingly, down Leverkusen's left. After a move from the Italian side breaks down, Zappacosta is caught up the pitch, and Jim City is dragged out wide by Adley. Grimaldo bursts forward into the space vacated by the centre back and is found by a first time ball by Palacios. Juan Musso rushes out from his goal, and based on the Spanish wingback's attacking prowess this season, it seems like a straightforward lob over the goalkeeper. Grimaldo gets his effort horribly wrong, however, as Musso doesn't even need to jump to catch the ball. Just a minute later, Kopminus sits off Shaka, who for once has time and space to pick a forward pass. Fiertz makes the run, and Jim City is too late to react. The delivery is inch perfect, but the Leverkusen man is unable to control the ball, which bounces away for Musso to collect. This was an example of how even one lapse in concentration was enough for Alonso's side to find a way through, but the Italian side came away unscathed. At halftime, Kolasinac, who had passed the late fitness test to start the game, came off to be replaced by 20-year-old Giorgio Scalvini. The Atalanta Academy graduate is said to have a big future ahead of him, and he showed why in this game, putting in a near faultless display in the second 45 minutes. Alonso made the expected change, taking off Stanisic for Boniface. With two goals needed, they were playing in somewhat of a 3-2-5 formation, with Frimpong remaining high up, like he did in the first half. Here is the Dutchman's touch map in the second period, with Leverkusen attacking from right to left in this graphic. Frimpong only had three touches inside his own half after the game restarted. Atalanta sat back in a 5-4-1, but continued to press high up the pitch. 10 minutes into the second half, Gasperini brought on Mario Pasalic for Shaldi Ketalara. Again, if Wirtz looked to find space in between the lines, he was closely tailed, usually either by Scalvini or Jim City. The tactical setup might have been different, but the blueprint was the same. The German champions were being afforded no time or space on the ball, and when they did get away, Atalanta weren't shying away from committing niggly fouls. Five of Leverkusen's six shots in the second period came after the 80-minute mark, with none of them being clear cut chances. The only save that Musso had to make in the second 45 was an easy catch from a long range effort from Wirtz late in the game. Atalanta put on an absolute masterclass and produced one of the most dominant performances in a European final in recent memory. The cherry on top of the cake came with just under 15 minutes left to play, as the Italians caught Leverkusen on the counter attack. Pasalic robbed Hincapie and played forward to Scamacca, who was allowed to carry the ball a long way by a retreating back three, before finding Lookman one on one with Tapsoba. With the nightmare of the second goal still fresh in his mind, the defender showed his man to the outside. Lookman didn't mind one bit, as he did a couple of step overs, shifted onto his left foot, and smashed an absolute howitzer into the far top corner. This was arguably the best goal of the lot, but unfortunately, I couldn't find a camera angle that captured Skamaka's reaction this time. Let's take into consideration here that Atalanta also had an expected goals number of below 1 in this game. None of Lookman's goals came from easy opportunities, but notice how significantly higher the post shot expected goals numbers are on all three occasions, underlining the quality of finishing on show. It was, well and truly, a performance for the ages. He became the first man to score a hat trick in a European final since Jupp Heynckes back in 1975. If you think that name is familiar but can't remember why, this is Heynckes in 2013. Also, a special note for the use of the word treble in this tweet by Optajo. Lookman was coming into this game having already lost two finals in 2024 at the African Cup of Nations against the Ivory Coast in February and in the Coppa Italia against Juventus last week. This time, however, he took matters into his own hands and scripted a tale which will be narrated on the streets of Lombardy for generations to come. Leverkusen had scored 33 times with more than 80 minutes on the clock this season, but on this night, they could do nothing to stop the Italian party in Dublin. For Atalanta, this was a first trophy in 61 years, and only their second ever in their 117-year history. They also became the first Italian team to win the Europa League since its rebranding in 2010, and the first side from Bel Paese to lift this trophy since 1999, when Parma, with the likes of Gianluigi Buffon, Juan Sebastian Veron, Lilian Thuram, Fabio Cannavaro, and Hernan Crespo, beat Marseille 3-0 in the final. Words probably can't begin to describe how this feels for Gasperini, who has completely transformed the club since his arrival in 2016. At the young age of 66, he lifts his first piece of silverware as a manager, winning several hearts along the way. In 2019, Gasparini was made an honorary citizen of Bergamo. It shouldn't be long now before he gets a statue right in the middle of the city.